And joining us now from Washington, D.C. is David Daoud, Senior Fellow for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. David, we'll get to the wider implications in just a moment. You know, fears now mounting that should Hezbollah escalate the violence, and we heard from Joe that it's not appearing that that's the move happening at the moment, but if they do potentially send a number of rockets into Israel all at once, that would be a tough blow, and the retaliation Netanyahu has vowed would be absolutely catastrophic. Is there any way to further diffuse these tensions? Are we seeing that right now?
Thank you for having me on. Well, look, I think we need to distinguish between rhetoric, and there's rhetoric that comes from both sides that's bellicose, but not necessarily reflective of reality or actual intentions. I think with the attack yesterday, Hezbollah did send several hundred rockets. They managed to, according to them, get 320 rockets in. According to the IDF, get 210 in, but most were intercepted. This was essentially a failed attack. Hezbollah is claiming victory. Their propaganda organs are spinning this as a victory. Their Secretary General is speaking as we speak right now, and I'm sure he's spinning this as a massive success for the organization. That'll cover any actual failure. And from the Israeli side, they're trying to maintain deterrence. They're also sending threats, but they've signaled, and I think that their actions have demonstrated they're also not trying to go to war just yet. So we need to distinguish between the rhetoric and the actual behavior.
You know, we also have, of course, these concerns that an all-out war could potentially draw on the United States, Iran, militant groups all across the region. What's your read on that situation specifically at this hour?
Well, I think, again, distinguishing between rhetoric and reality, the resistance axis, this broad umbrella of organizations and entities that is controlled by Iran, have threatened that if Israel goes to war in Lebanon, for example, that this will erupt into a regional war. They don't want this regional war right now. Their preparations, they do intend to destroy the state of Israel somewhere down the road. They intend to do this through 1,000 paper cuts. But their preparations for that war that will erode Israel out of existence are not there yet. So they don't want to prematurely expose their assets and plans and programs to destruction. From the Israeli side, I think they have handled multi-front wars in the past. They can, if they're given the right support by the United States. This wouldn't necessitate U.S. boots on the ground. No Israeli conflict in the past has. And I think the Israelis would prefer it to remain that way because their deterrent image in the region, their ability to defend themselves by themselves rests upon that. And so does their utility as a U.S. ally. One of the reasons why we support the Israelis is because it obviates the need for us to put boots on the ground in a region of critical importance for us.
You know, we heard Joe say a little bit earlier that this may have a positive impact on the talks that are happening in Cairo today. Is that your sense as well?
I don't know. I think those talks are operating on an independent track. They're snagging on different things. Now, Hezbollah will try to spin this, I'm sure, as adding more pressure on the Israelis, especially if talks succeed. I can imagine them very well claiming that the attack that they launched today, the fear that it caused in the so-called Zionist entity, the trepidation it caused in the West, pushed towards a ceasefire deal, and for Israel to prematurely accept such a ceasefire deal without accomplishing its goals in Gaza. But those talks are now snagging on issues such as Israeli deployment on the Philadelphia route, hostage negotiations. They're two independent tracks.
What are you expecting we might hear from the White House later today? What should we be hearing in your view?
I think we'll be hearing more cautioning against escalation, more calls for restraint, coupled with, and I think this is absolutely necessary if we do want to see matters de-escalate, supporting Israel's right to defend itself, demonstration of the United States backing Israel's ability to go all the way if necessary, even if we don't want to do so. Because as our adversaries and Israel's adversaries perceive it, Israel is a tool of the United States. Israel is a forward military base of the United States. This is Hassan Nasrallah speaking. And so when they feel that we're pulling the Israelis back, they feel that they have more freedom of action. If we are giving the Israelis more ability to act, they feel that they have less freedom of action. So a demonstration that the United States is in Israel's corner and trust that our Israelis will act or our Israeli allies will act responsibly when given that leeway. That'll keep things, I think, below the threshold of a larger conflagration.
All right. Well, we'll be awaiting that response. David Daoud, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And at Columbia